fatal heart impacts, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse, I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here. And now, whenever we last left off with this series, Izuku Midoriya, or as he is called, Dorozaya, he has had a lot happen to him. Now, Midoriya, he has smiled for the first time after 5 months. And that was after finding out about this unique skill. Now, this unique skill would give Midoriya his freedom. And he has begun to save his skill points to buy it. Now, Midoriya, his mind raced with what he could do. The first thing he thought about what to do when he gained his freedom was quite horrifying. To a normal person, they would regret or feel shame of what they thought. But Midoriya, he felt nothing but sadistic joy. The idea of slaughtering every single mercenary and every single person who's been involved in his capture, that brought him great joy. And Midoriya, he couldn't help but wonder. Now, Midoriya, he spent all of his skills yesterday, or skill points. Now, Midoriya, yeah, he needs about 50 points to buy this skill. However, once bought, the skill is going to be active for an infinite amount of time. Now, Midoriya, he finds this to be quite interesting. A skill that's always active and does not run out of mana. It's quite useful. Now, Midoriya, if he's correct, this is called a passive skill, or an always active skill if he had to say it directly. Now, it's quite interesting. And Midoriya, you do have where he did return to the mansion and back to his cell. As we do have where he's currently sitting down in his cell and doing his own training. Midoriya, yeah. In canon, the back-breaking train that Midoriya tried to put himself through during UA and the additional training he tried to stack on top of it, that is seen as nothing to this one. Midoriya, he could work until his bones begin to bleed and break, and he would just keep working. As we do have where the, servant would walk downstairs and set a plate of food down and begin to slide it into Midoriya's cell. Midoriya quickly using his movement, as the person they do slide their hand in and then go to slide it out. Midoriya grabbing the girl by her wrist, as the girl she does look up and go to react. Listen to me. Now, the girl she does try to pull away. Find that Midoriya's grip, it's way too strong. She feels like she's trying to pull her hand, and nothing's happening, no matter how much she fights. Now, Midoriya with his other hand is going to bring his hand up and directly cover the girl's mouth, as she did go to open it. The girl feeling complete fear. However, she did close her eyes and expect Midoriya to at least kill her in an instant. As Midoriya he did open his mouth. You're a slave, aren't you? The girl's eyes shooting open. I thought so. What if I told you there's a way to gain freedom? Now, the girl she does stop pulling away from Midoriya. As Midoriya he does let her go. What I'm going to tell you is very sensitive information. Tell me right now if the master orders you to report back to him about me and my condition. Now, the girl would just shake her head no. And Midoriya would say, perfect. That's what he thought. Listen to me. I gained a unique skill. With this skill, I don't need to listen to his orders once I'm enslaved by him. However, if I gain this skill, I can kill him and get rid of your slave marker. Then you might be able to help me a little bit. How does that sound? That sounds cruel to say. Her going to cover her mouth as she's not used to hearing her own voice. I would like that, the girl says quietly, her turning and running away. And we do have Midoriya, who he does go to reach his hand onto the bars, and he does go to start trying to pull them. As Midoriya he does do that, he does feel his slave collar begin to activate. As Midoriya he was ordered to not try to escape, since his strength is growing exponentially. Now, Midoriya he is training his pain tolerance, and he just keeps resisting the order more. Now, we do have over the course of the next few months, where Midoriya he's building the points for this skill. Over this time, Midoriya he's gained at least a few, skill points, along with prowess, and at least new, skills himself, along with even unlocking some that would have been later on into a skill tree. Now, Midoriya he improved a lot in swordsmanship, and eventually he did gain access to a unique perk. Now, Midoriya he leveled up from at least a novice to, or not novice, from swordsmanship to warrior, as it does show his prowess in at least multiple weapons. Along with that, Midoriya he did also receive a marksmanship skill, since he increased his own archery. Now, the master he did want to teach Midoriya magic. However, the boy's very dangerous already. Along with that is the fact that if he teaches this boy magic, there are many things that could happen. The boy could try and at least unseal his collar. Many students of his, they have tried that routine before, and none of them have survived. They quite literally unseal their collar and go into death. The only thing that does keep their contract together is exactly the terms of it. Till death do they part. And usually, that is the slave. The moment the slave dies, the contract is done and over with. Now, the man is thinking, however, as he does see Midoriya holding two blades, as an entire group of men do rush him, along with arrows flying through the air, as Midoriya he does go to block some of them with his blades and dodge out of the way of one, as it does cut directly into his face. Now, Midoriya he does then go to rush forwards as an arrow does get shot directly into Midoriya's leg and arm. And Midoriya he does continue to take down the men who he's training with. The boy has turned into quite the formidable force over the last couple months. However, it does seem that his progress has reached a tipping point, since the boy's currently facing off against about 20 different men altogether at once. The boy has the power of a small army behind him, and he does think that tonight is the night this boy is ready. Now, the man does smile, knowing that his long-awaited investment is about to pay off. As we do have where the training is all said and done, and Midoriya he is sitting there, or at least laying there, in a puddle of blood. Him going to sit up and stand up, as the men all do look at Midoriya. They kicked the ever-loving shit out of him once they got him out of the ground, and then a few of them they hit him with their weapons. Midoriya has slashes and cuts all over his body. Along with that, there is even some of the blunt mallets they used. And there is where Midoriya's arm is twisted directly backwards behind him, and his hand, his fingers all do look crushed. Now, the all do watch as Midoriya he does reach down into his leg and pull the arrow out in one solid piece, before just suddenly dropping it. And then bring his hand up to his arm, as we do have the servant that does walk up. And just say, hold. Now, the girl she does hold out her hand, as it's shaking extremely. Midoriya holding up his bad hand up towards the girl with his right hand, as the girl she does begin to start healing it. Now, we do have for the master, he does walk down and inform Midoriya that he's done very well in progressing in his combat skills. Usually Midoriya, he would be in here for about 3 to 4 years before the average person even steps into the arena. However, he's been able to at least get to the arena in under 12 months. Interesting. Now, the man does continue on. He wants to see how Midoriya will do. He will fight against 5 trained gladiators. And if all does go right, the man will make a lot of money off of him. Now, the man does ask Midoriya his preference on magic, and Midoriya he does just stare the man down. As Midoriya, yeah. The man he is smiling cheekily, and he is waiting. Now, the man does order Midoriya to speak, since he's being so quiet. The arena would bring me great pleasure. Why? Exactly why do you want to go to the arena? To kill. What more do I need? Or I die. That's all. My, quite wonderful. You've turned into the perfect weapon. It's gonna be so great to see everyone's faces. They might even be jealous of me and try and buy you off of me. The transfer of ownership is easy. However, it's the price of gold they'd have to pay me. Now, Midoriya he does stare at this man. This guy's disgusting. Everything he says and does is just disturbing. Now, we do have where Midoriya he does look into the corner of his eyesight and pull up his menu, as he does check everything. As it does stand, he has gained about at least 30 points. He really wants to distribute these into his resistances, and at least into his strength. He thinks that he might be able to fight the caller with just pure, determination and drive. However, that would eventually get him killed. Since, if he does run away and defy an order, yeah, not much is going to keep him away after that. Now, Midoriya, he does then head back to his cell and wait for the night whenever he is escorted in a wagon. And you do then have where he does enter in a place he doesn't know, as he's then held inside of a cage and given armor. Now, Midoriya, he does look at everything, and he does do one simple thing. His regeneration and healing abilities, they're at least at a level 3 and 4. All of his injuries from earlier today, they're healed. Along with that, there's the fact that the real bad thing is, he can't heal from severed limbs. As far as he knows, a finger might be good. So, he is quite curious to see what this will do. As Midoriya he does go to bring his hand up to his mouth and pull on his tongue. Now, we do then have where a few of the other people around Midoriya, they do see what he's doing. as they're quite horrified. Now, we do then cut over to the master, where Midoriya, or not Midoriya, the master, who's bought Midoriya and is his owner, he does explain that he has brought a rare delicacy, a prodigy that does have the ability to use magic. Ah, so you trained this one yourself. Did he really make it that long into the training this time? Actually, no, he's not trained in magic. I'm sorry? Yes, I trained him in the ways of being a gladiator, a warrior, a mindless weapon. I never understand what you find so fascinating about them. It's easy. You take this fragile piece of metal. It's stern, its shape is steady, and it isn't meant for anything. It can be molded and shaped if you just apply pressure and break it. You can then form it into whatever you like. It's quite fun. I chose to form it into a weapon. That is what this boy is to me. I see. Well, tonight's entertainment should be very well then, shouldn't it? Yes. Now, we do then have where the gladiators, they are all given orders. And then, we do then have where Midoriya, he and a lot of other men, they're all ordered to step outside. As they all do so, willingly. Now, the announcements are made. Tonight's entertainment will be these men. And they are going to be comrades in arms. However, they should all be aware. Only one of them is getting out alive. This being where everyone is, well, the man is lying. The fact is that if it all does come down to it and these men end up killing each other, they're all just going to simply be healed and then put back in wagons. To entertain them again another time. This is an investment after all. Now, some of these men are disposable to the rich. However, you have the master who does think that Midoriya, he is more than just that. Now, we do have where Midoriya, he is standing there, and he does have blood running down his mouth, as he's waiting. Now, Midoriya stands there with two blades and a dagger directly on his waist, along with gauntlets covering his forearms and a helmet covering his head. As you do have where a few monsters are let out into the arena. And Midoriya, he does encounter a strange creature. It having a question mark directly on top of it, but Midoriya, he does see it as something from his own world. It looks like a giant wolf, and it does have tusk on it. So, that's what these things are. The question mark disappearing is just a giant wolf. And Midoriya, he does just somewhat think, okay, that will do. Now, you then have where the wolves will begin to start attacking and getting into place. Some men going to rush forwards and fight, and some throwing down their arms to try and die. Now, you do have Midoriya, who he does directly go to rush forwards at a wolf and go to fight. Now, the master does watch this happen. Every other man in the arena is currently getting ripped apart, and barely even getting past one single hit. And then there's Midoriya. The boy is very fast, and when you look at him, it's hard to tell where he's really going. As Midoriya, he does rush in and directly go to slash downwards with one of his swords. Midoriya being able to take out one of the wolf's legs directly and immediately. As the wolf, it does have the leg fly down towards the ground, and Midoriya, he does go to try and bring up his other weapon, and go to try and cleave this giant wolf in half. Now, the wolf, it does go to shout at Midoriya, and Midoriya, he's hit with a giant sound wave, as he's sent flying backwards and smashing into a wall, before he does just get back up and begin to grit his teeth. Now, Midoriya, he didn't even think about that. These animals have access to magic too, don't they? Or natural skills. Now, Midoriya, he does go to bring out his dagger, as he does hold on to one of his swords. Him going to bring it up and throw it as hard as he can, as it does fly through the air and stab directly into the head of the wolf. The wolf screaming out in pain as Midoriya, he does rush in. Now, Midoriya, he moves at high speeds, as the wolf, it did go to call for, well, help. As the other wolves did come in, Midoriya, he threw one of his blades through the air, being able to chop one of the wolves in half as Midoriya, he did then rush in towards the one he wounded. Him throwing his blade above his head and stabbing downwards before grabbing his own weapon, and then trying to at least go for the third wolf. Now, Midoriya, he did hear that he received 1 level, and he was very excited by that. Now, Midoriya, he does then turn towards the last wolf, which Midoriya, he does go to throw the silver blade directly at it. And the wolf, it does get hit by it. However, it does just keep charging. And Midoriya, he does go to bring up his weapon, as he does stab it downwards into the ground and then go to jump on top of it. Now, everyone is quite surprised, as they're wondering what Midoriya is doing. And then you do then have where Midoriya, he does use his skill, as he shows off his bloodlust to this creature. Now, Midoriya, he does stun the creature as it does feel fear. And it does go from rushing Midoriya and jumping into the air to surprise and shock. Midoriya, him then going to do a flip as he does go to grab down onto his blade with his hand and then go to come back around. As he does go to slash directly downwards, cutting the wolf down too and gutting it. Now, as it does happen, Midoriya, his helmet is thrown off, and he's covered in blood. As everyone is surprised. No one has ever really gotten past this stage. In fact, it takes many gladiators just to do all what Midoriya just did. And you do then have where Midoriya, he does then get a unique skill. Level 1 Hunter has been unlocked. Now, Midoriya, he is surprised. Oh, that one? Now, Midoriya, he does just think. So apparently hunting doesn't apply to passive mobs, or, well, animals like that. So, you do get experience, just not as much. That does make some sense. Now, this is where Midoriya, he does continue to battle, and face off against different creatures. And you do then have where Midoriya, he does continue on. He's mowing down different things he's fighting against. And you do even have Midoriya, he has gained the 50 points for his freedom. However, he's enjoying himself far too much. Now, you do have for Midoriya, he does get finished battling off against a bunch of orcs. And Midoriya, he does then go to move in for the kill on the final one. As the orc, it's trying to stand there and hold its weapon. As Midoriya, he's walking forwards. Now, the orc does go to bring his hands up as Midoriya, he does directly slash upwards with a blade quickly. And the orc's stomach does get sliced open, along with its arms flying off. Now, the orc does begin to start moving backwards, screaming out in pain. As Midoriya, he does just continue walking forwards. Before he does get directly on top of it, and he does go to bring his leg or foot onto its head. As Midoriya, he does start to kick downwards, and then he does start to just press down. More, and more, until pop. Now, Midoriya, he was smiling the whole time. And he does then look up, as he does look directly at his master. And his master, he does just sit there, and he's enjoying it. My, it seems like I've won again. Really? It's quite astonishing. Yes, I've told you. He's quite unique, isn't he? Yes, he is. Now, Midoriya, he is given permission to head back and rest. In 10 minutes, he will have another battle. Midoriya heading back to where he was, and then sitting down. As he does bring up his hand and press into the corner. Him grabbing the unique skill he does need. As he does begin to smile more. Now, Midoriya, he does then look through his abilities. He has a few options now. He gained over 125 skill points, meaning that he has 105 to spare. So, he's got options. Now, Midoriya, he does go over to the magical tab, and he does watch as it does pop up that Midoriya, he does have no starting magic. However, he can pick and, well, take on a starting spell, asking what Midoriya would like to learn. And Midoriya, he does ask what there is. Him hearing things being rattled off. As Midoriya, he does pick one that does sound interesting. Poison magic. That sounds pretty fun. The skill cost 10 points. Midoriya, he does take it. Now, 95 left. And Midoriya, he does start to look around more. As he does do a few things. Increasing his strength and certain resistances. Along with even increasing his, let's say he does buy another spell. Let's say he buys Fireball Magic. And he gets it up to level 6, using the rest of his skill points. Now, Midoriya, he's quite happy about that. As you do have where Midoriya, he does go to cast a spell and hold a fireball in his hand. And Midoriya, he does just stare at it, before closing his fist, and the fireball does disperse. I'm a free man. However, this is far too much fun. Now, Midoriya, he does think. He has a few ideas for what he can do. So, he can kill everybody outside that room, or he can continue fighting, gain more and more power, and just make the slaughter easier. Now, Midoriya, he can already picture it. The man who enslaved him. Midoriya, he enslaves him now, and he makes sure he makes a slow and painful death. Now, with that, Midoriya, he does walk back out after the 10 minutes, and he does continue to face off against stronger and stronger opponents. As we do have with Midoriya, he's facing off against the toughest one yet, a giant. Now, this one was quite hard. This giant was about, let's just say, 10, 12 feet tall, if I had to say something. And Midoriya, he was quite surprised. Now, he never expected to see one in real life. And right now, there's one standing in front of him. However, it has a giant club and wants to turn Midoriya into a finely pressed paste. Now, Midoriya, he does go to bring up his weapons and stare at this beast. As it does just look at Midoriya and begin to start laughing. As it does start to move forwards and rush in. And Midoriya, he already does have tactics. This thing is giant, big, and burly. So, what's the best thing to do? He already has it. Midoriya rushing in with high speed. As the master, he does notice the sudden increase. Now, Midoriya, he does do one thing. He cast the poison magic. Him inflicting it on his weapon, as he does rush it and directly slices into the giant's leg. Before Midoriya, he does then go to slice more and more and more. Now, Midoriya, he's making sure to take out muscle tendons. As Midoriya, as the giant does come swinging down directly by him in his leg, Midoriya, he does catch his arm and directly hold it backwards, or at least hold his body still, as he does press and fly through the ground. Midoriya stabbing his blade downwards as he does skid backwards, still on his feet, before pulling his blade out of the ground and looking directly at the giant. Now, everyone's astonished, as the first time they've ever seen a human withstand a single punch like that. Now, Midoriya, he does say bastard as he does rush back in, and everyone is surprised, especially the master. He took Midoriya's tongue, and the way he said it, that was a full word. Now, as Midoriya, he does rush back in, he does gotta do one thing. Him throwing up one of his weapons. As the giant, he does go to start looking at it and go to swat it out of the air. As he does so, Midoriya, he does leap upwards fast, and he does punch the giant directly into the face. As he does throw up his other hand and go to grab the weapon in the air, before stabbing it directly into the giant's face. Now, Midoriya, he does then stick his fist into the giant's mouth, and he cast Fireball. Now, the master can feel mana being used, and Midoriya, he does then sit there for a second, as the giant's head would explode, and Midoriya, he sent flying backwards, smashing into the ground. Now, Midoriya is informed that he has received a level up, and Midoriya, he does begin to laugh as he does stand back up, and he does look back at where his arm is, as there's a large bite mark directly on his forearm, and Midoriya, he does laugh. Now, Midoriya, he just killed the toughest opponent they had in the arena. No one's ever gotten this far. It does seem that they have to pour their money into it and find stronger and stronger opponents. However, that last move there, what was that? It was quite interesting. Now, the master, he's staring at Midoriya, as he does then inform Midoriya that that will be all for the night, and he does go to stand. Now, he's assuming Midoriya, he used his unique skill, and he does take Midoriya back towards the mansion, or manor, and he does go to head back towards his quarters. Now, Midoriya, he is going to receive a little bit more food than usual, since he has done well. Now, we do then have where the maid or the servant, they do directly meet with Midoriya, and they do ask him if, did you do it? Midoriya looking over his shoulder and turning around, as he does smile. Now, the girl, she does look at that grin, and she does slowly back up for a minute, as she's scared of that face. Now, Midoriya, he does go to walk towards the door, and he does with one hand go to grab the metal bar and directly rip it off the hinges and frame with one hand. As he does so, he does set it to the side, and he does then turn to her. As he does, stare at her and move closer, her backing up more and more and more, until she does finally hit the wall. Midoriya putting his fist directly out and onto it, leaning and telling her that there are no strings on him anymore. And the girl, she does just stare at Midoriya, her eyes full of tears, along with the fear of what he can do. Now, Midoriya, he does back away, as he does turn towards the stairs and begin to start walking up. Now, we do then have where the master, he is writing down a few things and a few notes. Midoriya, he's progressed far too much. He's gonna have to go to a demi-human merchant and at least try and find tougher opponents. Now, he does go to sip his wine and he does find that he is out. Now, he does stare directly at the glass before he does go to stand up, walking over towards his bed as the glass bottle he does have is completely empty. Him looking at it and letting out a deep sigh before going to go towards the kitchen. Now, as he does leave, he does begin to start walking throughout the manor. His other slave has returned to her own resting place, her room. If she gets sick and dies, then he's gonna have to buy another one. So he has to at least keep her inside. Now, he is standing in the kitchen, as he does then turn and see Midoriya. Now, he does go to drop the bottle he's holding, as we do then have Midoriya, who does throw out his foot and catch it. Now, the man he does look down, as he does slowly keep his eyes on Midoriya, as he does bend down to pick it up. Now, what are you doing outside of your cell? Midoriya smiling at the man. What are you doing outside of your cell? Respond. Midoriya turning his head slightly and giving him a toothy grin. Now, the man he does stare at Midoriya, and he is confused. The crest isn't activating. What is going on here? No, this isn't right. He does say, him going to back away. And you do then have where Midoriya, he does then go to stand up. And he does go to reach out as the man, he does drop the wine glass, his wine glass, and he does run with the bottle in his hand. Now, Midoriya, he does go to hold out one finger and bring his thumb upwards, pointing out he does cast Fireball. Now, the fireball would shoot through the air and smash the man in the back, as he does fall forwards onto the ground and begin to feel the skin and clothing begin to burn, the man letting out a large scream. Now, the other guests inside the manor, they do hear the man, as he does then flip back over and begin to start backing away. As you do then have where a knife is thrown into his foot, and then into his leg, and then into his upper thigh, and then into his knee. And Midoriya, he does walk forwards and go to step on them, pinning him to the ground. Now, you do then have where the slave girl or the maid, she does come running up, and she does see what's going on. Now, you do have where Midoriya, he does then watch the man, and he does look towards the mercenaries and the maid. If he takes the maid as a hostage, she'll have to. Midoriya then reappearing directly in front of the man. As Midoriya, he does force his hand into his mouth, and with 3 fingers, he does begin to start pulling as he does grab a grip of his tongue. Ah. No one said you can speak. Now, the man, he is in fear. As Midoriya, he does, with barely any force, rip out the man's tongue, and then directly show it to him. There. Isn't that better? Midoriya dropping it. As he does then go to stand up. As you do have the mercenary captain, who he is surprised seeing that the intruder inside the mansion is Dorziya. Midoriya spinning around and directly looking at the man. As Midoriya, he does give a sick twisted grin. Ah, isn't this fun? How are you? Easy. Midoriya does say. Him saying that he's been given a unique skill. Unique skill? No, that can't be. There's No one alive who gets unique skills. Hmm? I doubt that. I've already received a few. That's not possible. Yes, it is. Now, Midoriya would go to hold up his hand, as he does cast Fireball. Now, Midoriya, he cast two large ones. That they do both eat up a third of his mana. As Midoriya, he takes out and destroys 10 men to the right and left of the sky. Before Midoriya, with one simple, clean movement, he does disappear from view. And he does then reappear directly in front of this man, and he does hold up a blade. As two men behind Midoriya, they do both go to stab directly into Midoriya's back. Midoriya, him not flinching, as Midoriya he does look down at the blade. And he does then go to swing his right hand backwards and directly over his shoulder. As Midoriya he does knock the man's head off as if it was nothing, before going to bring backwards his leg and directly kick the man in the face, as he does impale him on a chandelier. Now, you do then have where Midoriya he does directly look at the mercenary captain, and he does shake the man to his very core. Now, Midoriya does talk about how he's had something special planned for him and the master for a very long time. As Midoriya he does bring his hand directly to the man's face and cast poison. Now, the man he does go to start grabbing away at his throat. He didn't realize it. Shit, he should have done something. He should have moved. Now, the man feels his body stop responding to what he has to say. As Midoriya, he does then watch the man fall backwards and writhe in agony. Whoopsie daisy. It seems like that was a bit too much. You'll get a quicker death than I wanted. Now, Midoriya he does stare at the man, and informing him that the magic he just used will kill him in about 20 days. Sadly, that's not the case though. That's what it should have done. Instead, you'll die in an hour, writhing in agony as your organs shut down. Now, Midoriya he does give him an ultimatum, asking one or two. Now, the man he does go to look up, as Midoriya he just says, never mind, bringing up his hand and casting Fireball. Now, he does then turn back towards the master, as the place is beginning to start burning and is up in flames. Midoriya going to grab him directly by his throat and by the collar of his shirt. And as he does ignore the blades in the ground, he does begin to start dragging him, as the man attempts to scream at what happens to his leg. Now, Midoriya he has taken a carriage, and he has taken this servant, as he's also taken a cloak. Now, Midoriya he does cast poison directly on the master and leave him in the woods to die. As we do then have where Midoriya, he does look at the man, and he is bent down in a squat. It's a shame. You're going to die too soon. I had a lot of fun planned. Now, Midoriya he does continue explaining. He was going to take him with him, and he was going to find a pack of wolves. However, he's hunted everything in this forest to complete extinction. Now, the man would shortly pass, since he's died of blood loss. As we do then, however, Midoriya he does feel his slave collar begin to form around his neck, before it does unlatch and then fall directly onto the ground in front of him. Midoriya looking down at that, and then turning to the slave girl, who she does have her collar on the floor directly in front of her. And she does just start to begin to cry, remembering all the horrible things that have happened to her. As you do then have Midoriya, who he does extend a hand and tell her to come with him. Her looking up to see Midoriya's bloody face, along with that, the way he does look. That cloak covers most of his body, If he doesn't shower before they head into town, people are going to think he murdered a lot of people, which isn't a lie. However, he does need to jump into the river. Now, the girl hesitantly reaches out from Midoriya's hand and takes it. As the two, they do head back towards the carriage. And Midoriya, he does hand the girl the reins, informing her that he's not from around here. Now, as the two do leave the burning mansion, Midoriya, he does feel the moon touch his skin, along with the cold breeze flowing through his hair. After 11, or however long it's been, 11, 10 months, he's finally free. He is a slave to no man, and he never will be. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.